Okay, Kim and I are here to talk about Speak No Evil,
Yes.
which was recently in theaters, but now is streaming on, was it Peacock?
It was on Peacock, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which I feel a little like, I don't know, I feel a certain way about like, man, I don't want to pay for movies, but like, I don't know, we've gotten so spoiled now. I'm like, I'll just wait till it's streaming.
So this is totally tangential to that, but do you have YouTube TV or anything like
No.
that? So they just increased their price by $10.
Ew.
Like it's consistently going up. This is a whole different conversation,
Yeah.
but it's kind of annoying. Like I remember when it first started, it was like $40. Now it's $83 a month.
Oh my God.
Like it has gotten, and they keep justifying it by saying, "Oh, like it just costs a lot to add these services,"
sure
which like
it does.
it does. But
yeah.
But anyway, we watched it on Peacock. We were going to
Yes.
see it in theaters, but we just never could
Yeah.
quite like figure out the timing. And I just learned recently that this is, I guess, a remake
Yeah.
of the same movie from 2 years ago, which I have not seen. So
No.
setting the stage for that,
No.
neither of us have seen
Didn't
it.
even know it existed.
But Michael, if you're watching this, you told me that beat for beat is kind of the same thing except the ending. So now I do want to watch the original movie to see how much darker it is.
I just really want to watch the end.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could probably skip ahead, but
Yeah.
then I don't know. Yeah, so maybe at some point I'll watch it. I think
Maybe.
it's on AMC Plus, which I don't have
I don't have that
as a
either.
streaming service, so I don't know. Anyway, we watched it and
Yes.
just wanted to share our thoughts on it.
Yes.
Do you want to do a plot summary or should I do that? I don't know.
I mean, it's basically, yeah, a couple. So they're American, but they live in London now. Go on vacation. Where do they even go?
So they're in England, but they go to like, I guess, the West Country. So they're outside. They live in London, but they are traveling.
They go somewhere and meet this couple, and then
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, come to our house in the West Country."
Wherever I assume it's in the UK, like in driving distance, apparently, because they drive their car. And it's really super remote in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
but really pretty, you know. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, they meet this couple on vacation and then bond, and then the couple's like, "You got to come visit us." And then what was different from the trailer, because that's what I appreciated a lot about this movie. It was not what the trailer, in my opinion, set up, which I liked a lot better.
Yeah.
In the trailer, it looks like they meet and the whole film they're together. That's not what happens. They go home. They go back to their lives, and then they get an invitation, and they're like, okay, let's go. So then they go to the West Country to visit these people and quickly realize they are much odder than they believed, and in the sense of they just might be murderers.
Yeah, so the couple that's kind of nefarious in this is played by James McAvoy, and I cannot remember the actress's name.
I don't know.
I know on the other side, the couple that's kind of like the audience, like you're like, okay, so what's going on here?
Yeah.
Is it McKenna Grace? Is that right? I think
It's Mackenzie Davis.
You're completely right. I knew it started with an M and ended with something else. Anyway.
Yeah,
McKenna
Mackenzie Davis.
Yeah, Mackenzie Davis.
Yes.
Who's also in Blade Runner 2049, which is like one of my favorite movies.
I've seen her in The Happiest Season, which is a Christmas movie.
Oh, she's also in Terminator Dark Fate, and she's good in that too. But yeah, I know, right? Like,
because I haven't really loved her.
Oh, okay.
Her characters. I have not liked her characters in the movies I've seen her in, including Speak No Evil.
Okay. Well, yeah, the husband annoyed me in the movie a little bit.
They both annoy me.
Yeah. But so anyway, yeah, they meet this couple, they go home, and the couple that's going to cause issues later does a really good job of just seeming like, you know, just kind of like a normal 30s age
super
couple.
social and outgoing, and come on.
And so they
be
send
my
them
friend.
they send them a postcard that's like, you really need to come visit us. And they're having, so the couple that's the audience's perspective is having some marital issues, right? You kind of learn later on that there was a little bit of not, I guess, cheating kind of going on in it. You learn something about that. And so things are a little bit rocky, and the wife is like, you know what, sure, like he wants to go, but she's a little bit skeptical.
And that's kind of the dynamic that from the very beginning of the movie is presented between this couple, and I imagine that's why he is so drawn to James McAvoy and his wife, because this husband wants more freedom, more life, more spontaneity, and his wife is very not that, and very about their daughter and her needs, which are a little high anxiety at times.
A little. yeah.
And so then he sees James McAvoy living the life he wants to live. And so then he's like, yeah, I really want to go visit. And she's like, no. And then she sees how disappointed he is. And so she makes the effort. Okay, fine, let's go visit these people.
Yeah, so they they go on the trip, they get there, and for the first 24 hours or so, the same things seem okay. I mean, there's a little bit of like weirdness that they start to kind of realize.
But James McAvoy's character, and this is the nice part about it, like covers very easily. Like anytime something gets brought up, like, oh, didn't you know, or that's kind of weird, he like apologizes and he's like, oh, I didn't know, I'm so sorry. Like they do a really nice, like you were saying, the slow build.
Yeah.
They do a really nice job of making it just weird enough that you'd be like, get out. And then get away, people. But then he recovers it, and you're like, oh, maybe it really wasn't as weird as we thought. Okay, fine. Even the audience are like, okay, I blew it up in my mind. That wasn't so bad.
Yeah, and I guess we'll veer into spoiler territory kind of soon. But what I will say more generally about kind of my take on the movie is I think it works best really for the first like 3/4 of the film.
Once you get into like the third act, it wasn't as strong.
Yeah, it's very much a slow burn type of thing where you know something's off, but it's hard to put your finger on it. You kind of predicted. I didn't predict the twist. There was a twist regarding one of the characters, one of the kids, which I did not see coming. I just thought they were super abusive parents. But like, you sort of saw this coming.
I did. There were some moments where they indicate. Yes.
So it to me it works best in that way, and I think it works because you don't know what's going on, but also there's some deeper kind of dialogue and character interplay where the couple that we have the perspective of with Mackenzie Davis and her husband, you know, they're very like, okay, we're going to do things that are environmentally friendly. She's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And the other couple they're not environmentally unfriendly, but they kind of have opposite perspectives. And James McAvoy in particular kind of heightens the tension at different points, like making little digs at kind of her eating habits and things like that. And it gets more tense, and I think it works best in those moments because the acting is really great too. Like especially James McAvoy.
Oh my God, yes.
He's really good in this. But eventually, the truth sort of emerges, and I guess this is where we'll get into sort of spoiler territory. Unless you want to say anything else about just generally kind of your take on the movie before we get into that piece of it.
I mean, just in general, I really appreciated that it was so different from the trailer because it did have more story, more characters. I didn't love the conflict just because, and I don't know, maybe it's my own bias, but like, I don't love storylines about a wife who is like sexually stunted and the husband who like, but it's real. I get it. Like it's a very real, and one of the moments that I actually really loved was they're in bed together. And maybe it's gonna, before you even know there are really any issues, maybe it's gonna get a little romantic, and then the daughter comes in with a nightmare.
Yeah.
And the dad is like, no, go back to bed. And the mom's like, come sleep with us. And I fully believe that is relatable to like 99% of parents and their relationship and their children. I'm kind of over that.
Well, and I will say it's tied to that tangentially, I guess. It has to do with the daughter. This is the comment I'm going to make. So she does, as you mentioned, has high anxiety. Yeah. And I don't know what the medical classification would be, but it's to the point to where she starts scratching herself and kind of going bananas if she doesn't have the stuffed rabbit. Like the stuffed rabbit is with her everywhere. And there's a pivotal point in the movie where they realize something is not great about this couple and they decide to leave kind of before everybody wakes up, and they get halfway down the road. They're not halfway home, but they're down the road.
Right.
And the daughter realizes she doesn't have Hoppy, her bunny.
Yeah.
She starts freaking out. And the mom is like, well, we have to go back. And the dad...
Well, what's interesting is that the dad makes the choice to go back. And I thought that was interesting. That it was almost in a way, and I think they built up to it as much as I'm like, no, don't. It's a freaking stuffed animal. Get over it.
I mean, you know, as an audience, we know like going back is probably the worst mistake you can make.
Yes. And so I thought they did a nice build, at least, of the dad, you know, kind of saw it as like, okay, maybe I've pushed too much. This is my opportunity to show that I am empathetic, and I do want her to have her support, Stuffy.
Yeah.
But maybe not the right moment to show that, Dad. Pick a different moment that doesn't put your family in danger.
Again, Michael, if you're watching this, after I finished watching it, he texted me, he's like, would you have gone back from the bunny? I was like, hell no, I wouldn't have gone back. I get that the daughter's freaking out, but I would just be like, you're going to have to restrain her. Like, we have to get out of here. Like, this is not,
No.
So, they go back, of course, and even then, at that moment when they go back, and it's super awkward because they have woken up and realized they left, they do kind of manage to recover a little bit, and they're like, oh, this is why and the reason they left is So Mackenzie Davis,
Yes.
right? Her character wakes up and finds her daughter in bed
Yeah.
with the couple and their son in the middle of the night, and just
Yeah.
completely loses it, as anybody would.
Yes,
like, right?
yes,
I mean, it's
yes.
just super weird.
Yeah.
So that's why they leave, but they go back. But they then kind of give her an explanation for how that happened. Like, she woke up and freaked out, and
Yeah.
the mom didn't hear, so they were trying to comfort her so the parents could sleep. Like, it was.
And this is spoiler-ish. This is where I knew. This is where it was revealed to me when they started talking about how they had a daughter and lost her, and that's where I started to get the indication that, oh, these characters might just be trying to rebuild a family they lost using other people's children.
Which is not really what's going on, I guess. Not. I mean,
see, it is and it isn't, and that's the part in the third act where it got a little off the rails for me, because that's where I wanted that to almost be it. But then, like, I guess, spoiler, they're just criminals.
Yeah.
Like, they just want their money.
So we're going into, all right, spoiler territory. I'll put the text here, spoilers. Yeah, basically what you find out when all this kind of hits the fan. Like, at one point they start to leave. There's a flat tire. You know exactly how they got the flat tire. Hoppy, the stuffed animal ends up on the gutter. All these things are there to, like, slow them down leaving. But basically, as they're leaving, James McAvoy just tosses the kid Ant, who you assume is his child, into this pond. And the dad of the couple who's leaving jumps out, saves him, and he's got a gun, and he basically holds them hostage.
Yeah.
And then he's like, basically what we're doing is we are kidnapping children from families and forcing them to transfer all the contents of their bank account into our bank account, and that's how we afford to live and make money. So they're just criminals. They're
well, and I didn't even get the sense, because at one point they find a photo album of all the families they've kidnapped and then killed.
And we should say Ant can't speak because his tongue has been cut out.
Yes, his tongue has been cut out. But maybe I need to watch it again. But when they were flipping through the album and I wasn't paying too close attention to all the people in the picture, I interpreted it as it wasn't about the kids. It was like they hold families. They meet a couple or a family, depending, and then ultimately hold the couple. Like, they just want their money and then they kill them. It just so happens one of the families had a kid and they decided to make that kid their own.
Yeah, and the way I saw it was they're basically using the kid as a tool to lure other families there.
And now they are, yes.
Yeah, right.
Now,
and I don't know if it's true that they lost a kid before, if that was just fabricated.
It started to feel like the wife, the crazy wife, the criminal wife, she was almost more motivated to, like, build a family, and James McAvoy's character wanted money, was more like the criminal, you know? And so that's where I'm like, I just wanted a little bit more of a coherent motivation, and I didn't want it to just be, because I feel like the tension was building, and then, yes, when they're finally kidnapped, then it was almost so basic. Okay, transfer your funds, do this. Here's this guy that was helping us the whole time. And I'm like, this is so planned out that I don't like it.
It basically, I don't know if this is the right use of this word, because I did still find it enjoyable, but it essentially devolves into a cat and mouse action movie where they're hiding in the house, and it's sort of like this chess game of trying to take out these guys one by one. There's another resident local who's in on it, who wants to sell their car and basically dispose of the evidence, that kind of stuff.
And he says he doesn't want to be involved. His only involvement in the past has been, like, selling cars. Like, he isn't involved in the kill, like, you know, but he's like, well, I saw your face, too late now, dude, so he's got to kill them too. Like, it just, that's where I'm like, I wish it was a little less stable.
Well, and it predictably ends with them basically picking off all of the bad guys except James McAvoy, and then Ant, the kid from this other family who this couple has killed and kidnapped him from, basically bashes his head in with a brick, and that's kind of how it ends. So it is, I don't know if I would say it's a very Americanized ending, but I think it was very, in a sense, probably rewritten for American audiences to be on board with it as kind of a major motion picture in a theater. So
I agree, and the way that the trailer is cut does that, and that's kind of what I've been telling people because I do highly recommend this movie. I liked it a lot.
I liked it too. I did like it,
and I've told a lot of people to watch it because the trailer is cut to appeal to the mass audiences. The movie itself is not, and I do think that people who are expecting almost this cat and mouse the whole time are going to be kind of disappointed within the first 15 to 20 minutes, because that's not what's going on immediately. But I think it actually is a better script and story without that. in the beginning.
This is why I want to see the original, because I am curious now about
Yeah.
how it ends, because I've heard that it's a radically different ending from Michael, if you're watching. So I don't, at some point I will watch it, probably.
Yeah, I guess I am interested to see what the end is and how that changes. And because it makes me think of Knock at the Cabin Door.
Oh, yeah.
Which I read the book and saw the movie, and the ending is drastically different.
Okay.
And I
remember you
wonder,
mentioning that,
I wonder if it's, for the movies, for the masses, we have to make it more digestible, or they're going to never want to see this movie again, or tell nobody to watch it, or things like that.
Yeah.
My question is the title, because I feel like Speak No Evil, and then there's so much in the trailer about the kid with no tongue,
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's trying to build the parallel. But I literally just, they don't want him to tell what they're doing. Like, to me, it feels so basic, and that's the part that I don't love. I wish it had more depth.
Yeah. The title's fine, I guess, but and I guess they titled it that way because they're basing it on the original movie. But still, which I haven't seen, so I don't know. But yeah,
Speak No Evil is such a iconic phrase,
Right.
that to me, I thought there would be more layers. And the movie sets up all these layers for the first, 2/3. And then when you get to the last part, it kind of loses the layers. And so I'm like, oh, the title is just literally don't tell them we
don't
kill
tell
people.
on us what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
However, I will say, despite what I think are some pretty massive shortcomings in the final act, it's still a good movie. I mean,
yeah.
I found it enjoyable. I've mentioned Letterboxd to you, that app where you can rate movies, but on there I gave it 3.5 out of 5. Like, I found it very enjoyable.
Yeah.
I thought it mostly, honestly, because of the acting. Like, I just thought it was very well acted.
It is. And even the characters that I don't like, the husband and wife that are annoying, or that I find annoying, because they're acting so well. I mean, they're doing a great job portraying these characters. And I guess I will also appreciate that it was never about them reconciling. Like,
reconciling.
yes,
reconciling.
I was like, reconciliation, and then I changed it halfway through.
Yeah.
They pretty much admit, like, yeah, I don't think we should be together anymore. And it's not like by the end of the movie they're like, no, we fought these bad guys, we're together now.
I thought one of the best scenes, you're referencing it really, is like right before they're going to leave, James McAvoy, his character keeps hammering this idea of honesty. I want honesty. And Mackenzie Davis has this moment where she's like, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if we're ever going to see you again. I know we won't, because we're going back to London. I'm not sure we're still going to be together, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a really cool moment in the movie.
And it was another one of those moments where then it gives James McAvoy, because he basically said, or they both said, they're like, no, we will see you both. We will make it work. And it's like, like they're normal. They're friends. Like, it does. It just perfectly, like, reinstitutes this sense of security that's not really there.
Yeah. So I would recommend it here's what I would say. If you have Peacock, watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would pay to rent it right now,
depending
necessarily.
on how much it
but
costs.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like a $3.99 rental, sure, I guess. But because it's on Peacock, I think it's totally worth watching. And I mean, it's good enough to watch otherwise, but it's just nice that it's free, quote unquote, currently through that service. Even though it's not really free, I guess. But
right.
I don't know. Anything else with Speak No Evil?
No, I mean, I'm glad I watched it, because I know we had talked about it. I think ever since we saw the trailer for it, and it definitely surpassed my expectations 75% of the time. And then 25%, I think it's not that it is disappointing. It's just, I feel like it then went mass appeal instead of what it was. And that's fine. I think it could have been better.
So I think the next movie, hopefully, that you and I are going to see is Nosferatu.
Or Night Bitch.
Yeah, or Night Bitch. Amy Adams, I think.
Yes,
which I really do want to see that.
Yeah. Both.
I had floated the idea of seeing that to Erica, and I kind of explained the plot. She's like, maybe, because she does love Amy Adams.
Well, I mean,
but I don't know.
Seem like
I don't think it's a horror movie necessarily at all. But anyway, one of those two, but definitely Nosferatu. Like, I'm super excited about that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we will be back soon with one of those two movies, maybe both, sometime soon.